welcome to the Steve Kalis Show. I'm Steve Kalis, and we have a very different sort of episode today. And I'll run you through just who we're talking to. So joining me as always is Kevin Harris. Kevin, how are you?
Good evening, Matt. I'm good.
Excellent. Joining me also is my sister, Kaylee Baker. Kaylee, how the hell are you doing?
I'm fed, I'm watered, I'm happy.
Excellent. With me also is my old friend Jez. Jez, are you all right?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
And we are joined by the very mysterious Hazel. Hazel, how are you?
I know, doing pretty good, pretty tired, but good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing the show. Appreciate you all doing the show. So today's theme, everyone, is parenthood and parenting. My partner Misha would be here, except she's currently parenting, so she'd be upstairs with Leo, but she'll drift in and out. If we start with, what would be one piece of advice that you would give someone who has just realized that they're pregnant for the first time, so a brand new parent to be? What would be one piece of advice that you'd give to them? So, Kevin, you are curmudgeonly and older, so why don't we start with you, and then we can we can have a sweeter experience as we go around the table.
So it improves as we go on. Okay.
That's right.
Well, anyone thinking about having a baby, I would say wait until later. I have found it much easier as an older person than I did when I was in my 20s. You don't feel like you're missing out on anything. But if you're already doing it, I don't know.
Sorry, bucko.
Yeah. Say goodbye to sleep. And money and time and anything else you ever wanted to do. No, I don't know.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin.
There's no advice, is there? Because every parent's different. It depends on your support group. Have you got
Oh, yeah. What would you want to say to yourself? What was one piece of advice you can give to yourself the first time round? I mean, what to expect, what heads up?
Be more patient.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Young Kevin, be more patient.
Okay, bear that in mind, young Kevin. And let's take this over to my sister, Kaylee Baker. Kaylee, how devil are you? Are you all right?
I'm good.
Now, my nephew, your son, Harley, is nearly a year old. Is that right?
No.
I'm glad I got that right. And
That's scary.
and what have you learned? What would you say to yourself a year ago? What's the best piece of advice that you could give yourself about becoming a mum?
I think the only one thing that I would change is I wish that I could afford more things for him. But obviously you can't spend what you haven't got. But at the same time, he's got a roof over his head. He's fed. He's got a really good family. So I think no one's ever ready to be a parent. It is what it is. You just need to just go with it, because chances are you're going to smash it anyway. So
brilliant. That's good. That's much more affirming than Kevin's answer. Thank you, Kaylee. Appreciate it.
Kaylee 1, Kevin 0.
Jez, and what about you? Because Jez, you've done this a few times now. So yeah. So what have you found? The same question to you. What was before? Lily's your oldest, is that right?
Lily's my oldest. Yeah, she's.
So 11. What would you say? What would you say to yourself just before you sort of conceived Lily? What's one bit of advice you can give yourself if you can go back?
I think you just need to let go of all your expectations, because it's never as bad as you think, but also anything can happen. Honestly, like I've had 3 children now, and each experience has been so different. And I had all these like thoughts about, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that. And each one's been completely different.
Well, so you couldn't prepare, so it's a new, unexpected thing every time, or
the anxiety, or thinking it's scary. Like even with my partner Sam, he was terrified of becoming a dad. And as soon as you have that baby, I feel like it just goes. All that anxiety just goes. You're thinking like, what was I actually worried about? It comes naturally, but when it doesn't come naturally at the same time.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, because it's so scary, isn't it? I mean, it's so scary. I mean, Hazel, what about you? What was your experience? What would you say to yourself now if you could go back?
Well, I had a very intense experience because I have two and there's only 22 months between them.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I kind of,
Mm.
I had the intense experience of it, having them so close together, 2 under 2. And I think obviously it's very easy to, when you become pregnant with your first, to obsess so much about what things are going to be like. And I didn't get a chance to even breathe before I then had my daughter. So I didn't really get a chance to obsess the second time round about all these little things. I don't know what I'd say to myself, really. I think, God, the sleep, maybe I would have said something to myself about that. But just not to obsess about the little things, really. Because you actually end up just doing them without even thinking about them every day. Subconsciously you're just doing them. So why spend 9 months thinking about something you're not even going to know you're doing?
Yeah, and I think that's right, because I was lucky because Misha, my partner Misha, our son Leo is 8 months old, and Misha was such a natural mum. Like she really studied up on it. Towards the end, she was like a midwife. She just knew everything, and I was the fact I was going to be a dad and there was going to be a human being that I was responsible for hadn't quite dawned on me. So I was still quite cavalier going through life, but not as if that wasn't on the horizon. And then when he was here, I found I couldn't relax by anything. Everything was I was walking him through. Had him in his pram, and everyone was a threat. Everything's a risk. Everything. Everything was scary because he's tiny and fragile. How long do you think each of you there it took you to sort of adapt to being a mum? How about you, Jez?
See, I think I'm different to Kev, where I found it easier when I was younger. I think the older I've got, the more scary the world seems, and the more real, like, everything became. I think when I was younger, I think I was 19 when I fell pregnant with Lily. And I felt young, and I was quite naive, and I just got on with it. Whereas I had Emerson when I was 28 and Mila when I was 30. And I've just found those two, what being like having kids later on, a lot more daunting.
Was that because you're tired? And I mean, what's the? Is
no,
this
I just think I feel like I'm more like clued up on the world. Just I don't know. It's when I'm done, I just breeze. I did.
To go back to what Jez said, actually, this I assume will apply to Jez and Hazel, because you have had more than one child. Like you said, the first child, you have not got a clue. You're literally rabbit and deer in headlights. Haven't you? Just go for it.
Yeah.
People help you do whatever. But once you know you're pregnant the second time, did you have any sort of expectations about how the pregnancy, what you want, how you wanted it to go, because now you had some information, and then how you wanted to raise them? Was it different than the first time through?
Oh yeah,
you're like, right, I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to do this, and then they do completely opposite to what you had planned anyway. But were your plans different?
Definitely. I think the first time, even down to the stuff that you buy, the stuff that you buy the first time round is all based on other.
The mum's first time pram usually costs more than their first car, doesn't it?
I think the first time was about was about that. And then the second time around, you're thinking, is it going to fold? Is it actually going to fit in the car, the next one? Yep. Can I get one that might actually be a bit more practical?
Can I put it down?
But no, I think the second time I was very aware as well of how quickly it goes and how consumed I probably was. So I think I've definitely enjoyed it a bit more this time round, and probably your first child gets the short end of the stick, definitely, because it's such a whirlwind. The second one comes and you're a bit more relaxed and you actually enjoy it a bit more, because it's not you don't love your child, but the first one it's such a whirlwind, you don't take that time.
Well, I found already that I was much more idealistic before Leah was born. So I was saying to Misha, no sugar, no TV, clean living. He's going to be He's going to be at one with the Lord, our boy. He's going to be a spiritual being. And then I guess about 6 months in, you go, oh, for the love of God, put the TV on, give him a biscuit.
Where's baby sensory?
Yeah, the dancing veggies.
Oh,
yeah, that
the
dancing vegetable
veggies.
YouTube thing.
That's a winner.
Yeah, definitely.
Vegetable thing.
Yeah, that's right. So, Misha Bernie, my wonderful partner, has just joined us. Baby, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good.
What was the ordeal? Leo wouldn't settle?
Yeah, you just kept rubbing my face with the muslin, so...
And he's teething at the minute. Let's talk about teething for a
Oh,
minute.
no.
What the hell's going on there?
Got about 4 at the top.
10 o'clock, she was in my bed last night and didn't get back out of it.
Oh,
Like jabbing me in the head. Oh.
yeah. So Kaylee Harley's got some gnashes coming through now. How's he been through the teething?
It's crazy because I feel like he's always teethed. Like he's always
For decades, it feels like. Doesn't
like
it?
he came out with teeth.
Yeah, the minute they
If you
came out.
remember, like his bottom two, they kind of came out of nowhere, and they were just like, oh,
Yeah,
like, they came
he's
out
always
of nowhere.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, he's got like his first 2 big ones. He's got like the 2 around them, and doesn't matter what I used, nothing worked. So I think definitely sympathy is something I'm not really good with. However, when it's your child, you haven't really got a choice. But definitely like Calpol, teething powder, anything for them to not experience the pain as much.
Yeah.
Kevin's
Like,
about to
I'm
say,
confident.
a little bit of whiskey on the gums. No, don't do that.
Just because Mama did it for me doesn't mean I'm allowed to do it to my children.
Right. No.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasted
waste
some
the good
perfectly good
stuff.
whiskey. Yeah. Jez, what do you remember about there? Because obviously so how old is your youngest now?
She's 1.5.
So still teething? How long does that go on for?
Forever, I swear.
Oh,
But I'll tell you what, have you breastfed a teething baby?
I not
You
personally.
haven't?
No, I can't say I have.
No.
I'll tell you what, I wanted to throw across the room. I really did. I was
Yeah, I
like
bet.
feeding her, and it's like a shark attack.
How did you do it? Because I breastfed Harley for like 3 weeks, and even his gums were so hard, let alone having teeth. Like, how
Yeah.
did you do it? Because you breastfed for like a year, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm still going.
Oh my God.
With Emerson, I didn't with Lily. She was just purely bottle fed. Emerson, I started to breastfeed, and we did not get along. It was hell. I could not do it. It just did not enjoy it. Neither of us did. We were just unhappy. But with Mila, it was so easy. It just happened, and there was just no problems. Like nothing. No uncomfortableness until she started teething.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
looking back, I'm kind of glad that mine and Harley's dad thought process was breastfed is cheaper than formula. So I felt like in my mind, I didn't want to do it. I felt like I'd had to.
A lot of
Even
There's so
though
much pressure on it. There really is.
Yeah.
Harley's dad would have been like, just do whatever you want to do. But I did it for about 3 weeks, and it was the worst 3 weeks of my life. It completely ruined the whole experience for me.
Yeah.
And then me and
couldn't
Harley
love
didn't bond till he was probably about 3 or 4 months, because I was just like, this is my life now. Like, he's ruined. Because you do think you're like, this is my life now. Like, I wasn't ready for this.
You're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is always that moment where it probably does get about 3 months in, and you do kind of have that moment, when that newborn bubbles out of the way, and you're like, oh my God, this is my life.
Well, I feel like I'm in the newborn bubble. I feel like I'm in now. I think lately it's been the best that I've experienced so far with Harley, because obviously the first 6 months wasn't a normal situation that we had. I wouldn't change anything, but at the same time, I think I would definitely change some things that are in my control. But breastfeeding a teething baby, no.
Yeah.
Hell
With
no.
breastfeeding, did any of you feel like, because obviously I with my other children, I was allowed to. COVID stopped me going to any of the hospital stuff with this child, but they always bang on about breastfeeding, like almost it's a bit pressurized. So it felt I'm not the one going to do it, but they kept on and on and on and on about it. How do you feel as a young mum when they're saying you should do this?
I think when the first sort of time I was it was talked about to me as my first midwife appointment. Your booking appointment, which you're about 6 to 10 weeks, and they say to you, what's your method of feeding your baby, and you'd only just really come to terms with that. So, oh my god, I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
And then they've got their form, and they're like, should I write breastfeeding or should I write bottle feeding? And I think I wrote with both of them. I put both, and I said that I was going to combi feed, so I was going to do bottle and breastfeed. But to be asked that before you're even remotely close to having the baby, it's it's drilled into you.
That's a great point. I mean, I think with Misha, what do you think about it? Because we really tried, didn't we? And by we, I mean you, because I had very little to do with it.
Yes, by we, you just stood there pushing your boob at the baby.
I wasn't much of that.
To help, though, definitely.
I was trying, but I mean, I think in hindsight, I could have been a much, much better partner, because it was annoying me. Because he just wouldn't latch, would he? Was that the issue? He wouldn't latch. He's lazy. He was like.
That was literally the only issue. I was very just set on doing it because I don't know, I wanted to, as well as thought it would be a good idea, sort of thing. But yeah, it was just the latch. We literally ended up on, I think after the 4th week, we were on the phone, weren't we, in the living room to a helpline to say
we want to do it.
No
How
nurse
do we?
Or midwife or any sort of feeding team help. Literally no one bothered, sort of thing. That was probably the only fault of the hospital, that they just I don't know, they just sort of left us to it, which they do with everyone. But it was just I couldn't have asked any more for a lot of help. But yeah, it was just we ended up on phone to helpline, and we were there's just not really much more we could do, because he was just screaming, crying. Literally, he was so unhappy, wasn't he? Just
I was about ready to frisbee.
Did you see a lactation consultant at all?
No, I was in hospital just for it was nearly 2 nights, so about a day and a half, sort of thing. And I just the whole sort of 48 hours I was in there, nearly, no one came to help me. Feeding team, nothing. It was just
it seems so sad. I mean, you have to accept that I tried really hard both times, but it seems silly because the resources are there, and with my daughter, she's only 16 months, so I still kind of remember everything. And her birth, I decided to go to a different hospital, and it was a very different experience after I'd had her, and a lactation consultant did come round, which didn't happen the first time. It was really interesting. I mean, her sole job, her whole job revolved around going around the postnatal ward and showing women how to do it. And I think I didn't really utilize it as much as I should, because I think she latched really well, and I think I kind of just not brushed it off. I listened to her, and I think I picked up a couple of things. But I do think in your circumstances, I mean, what a shame that the resources like that are not consistent with everybody, because it is there, and it's just frustrating.
I don't think
I suppose my
experience lockdown
is similar to Misha's, because I was in I can't even think of the word, baby brain's gone mental. So I had to stay in hospital 5 days after having a C-section because they messed up my procedure or something. The first feed, Harley latched on for 40 minutes, but he blistered. He wasn't latching properly. And 40 minutes had gone by, and I was like, something's not right. Student midwife, bless her, she was looking over my shoulder. She couldn't have had a better view of what was going on. But even she felt a bit do I say something? I don't know. It was just really horrible. And then he blistered both sides, and I had no cream. I had bottles, but I felt like I wasn't allowed to use them because it wasn't the right thing to do. And of course, because of COVID, Harley's dad could only come in for 2 hours a day, and I was in there for 5 days. And I think the support wasn't there. For me personally, it got to the point where I had no shower for 5 days. I hadn't brushed my hair. My hair was in dreadlocks because no one bathed me. Sam didn't have time to look after Harley and me get some sleep. It was just all a bit of a roller coaster. But I think looking back, I wish I just said bottle fed from the beginning, because that is what my head wanted to do. I felt like
pressure.
breast is best, which I'm sorry, but it's a load of rubbish. Fed is best, 100%.
But we wanted to, didn't we? We were selling it because we are aware of we did think, man, maybe there are some immune advantages to breastfeed. We were on it, but it was just a case of it was just hard when it wasn't. I mean, why I say I could have been a better partner is because at one point I was making things worse. I was waking up in the night. He was sleeping next to us, and I'd wake up and I go, babe, for God's sake, don't moan, I'll be a real manly man. And she'd go, I've already tried that. Go back to sleep. I go, hey.
So that's
Get me some biscuits and shut up.
Yeah. So I learned very quickly that in parenting in general, I found things ran much smoother if I was in a sort of support role. Like, okay, what do you need? What can I do? Because for some reason, the first couple of weeks, I tried to be like right, babe, I think what would be best is if we probably try this, and without having a clue. To have a clue what I was talking about made things much worse. So
just keep them watered.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, you did that though really well. I don't think I've eaten so much broccoli in the space of 4 weeks.
Well, we read.
Healthy food.
I remember I read on there. I was googling like what does a baby need like in utero, and I read a website said avocado is really good for the unborn baby. I was like, right, babe. So I ran over to Morrison's. I must have picked up 11 avocados. I was like, come on, it's good for the baby.
I think Leo eats that every other day now. He literally loves it.
He's part avocado in his DNA.
Good, yeah.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it could be lots of other stuff.
So, Jez, let's start with you here. So now, how old is Lily? Did you say Lily's in?
She's 11.
Lily's 11. So, what's it like having an 11-year-old?
Oh.
Have the answer to everything, don't they?
I was not prepared. I really was not prepared. And I feel like it's only just started. It's only going to get worse. But
Has she just gone to secondary school?
Just started, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. She really is. She's a really sweet, loving, caring girl. She doesn't get in trouble. She tries really hard at school, but wow, the hormones, the attitude.
Nothing to do with your genes or anything.
No.
I was going to say, I seem to remember a young Jez. But Kevin might be able to. So, Kevin, how old is your oldest daughter now?
Oh, you're going to get me shot. 22?
22. So what's it like having a 22-year-old daughter? What can Jez expect over the next 10 years, 11 years?
Don't do this to her.
She's still as irritating as when she was 11. I do love her so, but she's still... But it's different. I'm a dad. A dad with daughters is different. Mother with daughters is a different kettle of fish. It's always daddy's little girl. I just happen to have 4 of them.
You've got Hazel.
Yes. 22, 19, 17, and 1.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I just swung out for one last go and
and it worked.
This is a family show.
Yeah.
Right, so Hazel, if you don't mind, I haven't got to know you at all, Hazel. You're a mysterious name on a screen at the moment, and I haven't got to know you. I'm very sorry about that. But your audio, by the way, is crystal clear. What kind of mic are you using? It's so good.
I know. Well, it's a new phone actually. I have so I have two children. My eldest son is special needs actually, and we got his autism diagnosis I think about 4 months ago now. So that in itself has been a bit of a parenting adventure. Still kind of getting to know him actually, and getting to sort of know what he's like. And then my daughter is 16 months, Esme, and yeah, she's she's her mother's daughter. She's her mother's daughter, and he's definitely a typical big brother to her. Yeah, I don't think anything would change that. He definitely annoys her.
So, if you don't mind me asking, with the autism diagnosis, how has that made you feel going forward? In the sense that, do you feel like there's adequate resources and help available? I mean, I know nothing about it. So, what's that like? What's the situation like?
The system itself It's a good system. He didn't walk until he was 18 months, and that was the first time we got picked up and sort of into it really. And the support as of now and where he stands, so he's 3, and that is kind of the average age for diagnosis. He goes to nursery, and a lot of the support that you get, even as a parent, is through schools now and through education. So I'm applying for school for him now when he turns 4, and I am applying for special schools because he can go to mainstream school. And it is, a lot of it is down to, as a parent, do you think that they would receive enough support, and would they thrive there? And you have to apply either through the council or through your child's nursery for an education healthcare plan. And in Arlo's case, now he has the formal diagnosis, I can get the ball rolling on that. But you can't really do a lot without it. The education healthcare plan is his sole support for the next however many years he's in education.
I see. Thank you for sharing that, Hazel. That was because that's something I don't know anything about. That's something I couldn't.
I didn't know anything about it either. It's not something you expect, and obviously when babies are small, it's not something that you can easily tell. You know, it is a kind of case of any child, you know, may be autistic, but when they're a baby, they are just like any other baby. So I didn't know anything about it, and I am still learning.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh well, hey, like I said, thanks for sharing that. That's really abstractly interesting, because I don't think that would have come up otherwise, and someone listening would actually find that
insightful.
Handy. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that.
I have a question for Hazel. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Please, yeah. The more I can just drink wine, the better. You go ahead, guys.
You do you. So, for about a year, I worked for the Priory Group, which is like children's care homes, and I looked after a boy with autism. And the one thing that blew my mind was how big the spectrum is. And it's not just autism, like there's so much area around it. Like, is he in a certain category yet?
So when he got his diagnosis, there was a very they specifically put with his diagnosis that he has social communication disorder. So a lot of his autism is centered around the social, the speech. He is mostly non-verbal at 3 at the moment. I think he started calling me mummy around 2.5. So yeah, it was a really tough time, because even now he still can't ask me for things. So I think I don't know if it's what you mean, but I think for him, his autism is, a lot of it is social and his like not being verbal.
My grandson has autism.
Yeah. So what's your experience with with your grandchildren having autism? I mean, because they're how old are they now? I don't keep putting you on the spot by remembering people's ages. But how old are they now?
They are, I believe, 4 on Monday.
Twins.
Yes.
So what's the experience there with autism? Has his mum and dad found it to be?
The thing is, for me, it's nothing. I mean, my daughter's a little stalwart. She's just got on with she's the one who chased everyone down. She got them in. He was in Fairmead and he was doing ever so well, just starting school. And now they've moved to Blandford, so they've had to start all over again. And unfortunately, there it's a little bit more difficult, because they said because he doesn't have like a full diagnosis yet. Then what they want to do is he's in normal school. And after the 6th time that he escaped the other day, they're starting to rethink things. Because they found him in the staff room with the biscuits, so he knows what he's doing.
Not to interrupt you, Kevin, but I moved from Southampton in July to Preston, and I had the same issue. I had the same issue with the whole diagnosis and the way different NHS trusts do it. And yeah, the move, it really does impact the path that you're on with it. So I can totally understand that for your daughter, it's very frustrating.
You were just getting somewhere, weren't you, Hazel?
Yeah, I was just getting somewhere. He'd been assessed, and they'd sort of said, yeah, we're going to give you this diagnosis. And then I moved about 6 weeks later, and I thought it would be all right, because I thought, oh, well, by then it will have been done. And they actually just went, actually, you're not our responsibility anymore. We're not going to do it. And handed it over to this trust, who put us on a 3-month waiting list just for him to be re-seen and do the same thing that had already been done. So, the liaising is not great.
I don't understand why it's different on your area. Like, that's crazy. That really is crazy.
Each council has funding. Each council has their own systems. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's good that they've tried him in normal school. So, and he's done okay. That's not the issue. It's just he clearly needs a bit more one-to-one than they can give him, really, to be honest. Because he was excelling beforehand. We've got a couple of friends, Steve, Sophie White, what she's been through with her boys, and that's amazing to watch those two. Right, little Charlie is one of the most amazing kids. He's Snapchat famous. You've probably all seen him, but that's Fairmead and Co. They seem to do pretty well with everyone. Whereas in my day, you were just a naughty little shit, go and sit in the corner and shut up.
Yeah. Because we've had that conversation recently where it's been for years. People have said, "Do you know? Have you ever been checked to see if you might be on the spectrum?" And I go, "No, I'm just unusual by character." But actually, now we've got a son. We've had to have that conversation for real. And then with that, and with the confirmation of that, when we go to doctors, and if that is the case, it'll be a relief for me at 30, because I'll go, oh God, that's why I do all these crazy things all the time, and that's why my brain doesn't seem to work the same way as everyone else's brain. And so I think with autism, if you haven't got it, or say someone like me who's completely removed from it, what we know about it is so much better, I think, because it's become a little bit more common knowledge. It's sort of out there in the ether a little bit more what autism is. Yeah. And that can only be a good thing. So moving forward, we can, maybe there'll be more help available. Maybe councils can fund it a little bit better. And we had the mayor on the other day, so we're in there. We can, we got some influence now. We roam the halls of power, Kevin and I. So.
Yes.
Oh God.
So if you don't mind, I think I'll because I won't keep you all for much longer. But I'd like to ask you also individually, what's been your favorite aspect of parenting? What's the one thing that you couldn't have predicted, but that's made you go, oh man, this is amazing? Why don't we start with you, Kevin?
I didn't think I'd have so many. I didn't think I'd be a dad. I didn't think I'd be any good as a father, to be honest, when I was younger.
You didn't think you'd be any good?
They've also... No, my father was completely useless, and you learn from your parents. You don't realise you do until someone will do something, and you either tell them off or you instruct them in such a way, and you go, oh shit, that was my mum.
Yeah, I'm my mother.
Oh no! And you realise that you've just done exactly what your parents.
Yeah, Misha, will you, baby? What do you think what's the thing that you've enjoyed the most since Leah was born?
I think, I don't know, what the sweet thing that I love a lot is when Leo's just looking at me, and then Steve's always like, oh, look at him looking at you. Or like, yeah, it's just the way he looks at me. It's just so sweet. And the way he sort of relies on you. You don't expect that, if you know what I mean. Sometimes I sit there and I realise and I go, oh my God, he's really dependent on me right now. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things for me has been watching him with you, because because he's only 8 months old, and Misha to him, because I work a lot of hours, I'm home, I'm away most of the day, and it happens sort of late evenings. So Misha's everything that he knows, and sometimes he'll be doing something, and he'll always look to check in with Misha to make sure Misha's still there, and she's his whole universe. And when I see the way he looks at it, sometimes it just breaks my heart. I can't deal with it. I'm just gonna have a heart attack. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think a few people that have held him, he's gone like sort of trying to find me, like, where is she? Even the like sort of person, even if I don't know them, and it's like someone at your work or someone, they've gone, yeah, she's still there, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's just
so
the best. What about you, Kaylee?
I wasn't expecting him.
He wasn't expecting him. Full stop. Yes.
Ta-da.
Such a funny character. Like, I wasn't expecting him to be quite so funny. I know that sounds really stupid.
Yeah, personality.
But I'll watch him sometimes. I'll just start laughing. He'll look at me and he'll be like, "What? Like, what?" Like, he just sits there, and I just watch him sometimes, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm like, you're me," and do you know what I mean? It's the whole thing. But I had this weird thought the other day. I've got to try and teach him how to pee standing up.
We just know that just happens.
Yeah, it's trial and error. You piss on a few animals first, and then you accidentally piss on the wall, and then
the animals.
Then you get there's a stray cat or two, and they're in the sort of line of fire, and then you get it in the right place. So,
My tip is like when you start potty training and you're out and about, take a jar and his changing bag to pee in.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I'm nervous about is potty training, to be honest.
Because with girls, you can't. It's hard. You can't just aim.
No, yeah, that's true.
Get a jar.
That's such a good idea.
Hey, that's a top tip from Jez. Yeah. Yeah. So, Jez, what about you? What's been your favourite? What's the favourite thing? What's the favourite takeaway from parenting so far?
Oh my gosh, so much. So, definitely one of the most amazing moments is giving birth. Like just that sense of power, empowerment, and you're just like, oh, I've done it. And then you meet your baby for the first time. Like, I don't think. It makes me sad to think that one day I'll never have that again.
Yeah.
Don't you make me cry?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go through it again. I really don't. But that moment is just,
nothing.
So amazing. And I just think, just the unconditional love. Like you are your world to your little children. You can think you're like having a rubbish day. You can think, I've been a crap mum today, but they will just still look at you with complete love, and you'll just still be the best thing about their day, no matter what. You can't beat that.
Definitely.
No way.
That's lovely. And what about you, Hazel? What's been your favourite aspect of it so far?
I think I'm very blessed with very smiley children, which I know sounds really random, and I know like all babies smile, but literally there is nothing that won't make my children smile, and it is it's actually quite noticeable because like even all my family say it, they are just such naturally happy children. My son never cried as a baby, and even my daughter, she cries now but she'll smile at a paper cup, and it's like it lit up her day. Nothing doesn't make them smile, and yeah, it's that I think for me, my parenting personally, I just think, God, they're so happy. So definitely that. And I have to agree with Jez that the giving birth is, an experience like no other, and just seeing them happy. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, sorry, you go.
But the other day, Emerson, I think I was just like doing my makeup, and he came up the room and Emerson looked at me and he went, "Oh, Mummy, you look beautiful." And I was like, "Oh my god,
that's so cute."
That thing.
That reminds me.
Yeah, they chat a lot of shit as well, don't they?
Oh yeah. To be fair, Holly doesn't chat yet, but he's got like a little look in his eye, and I'm like, "You're gonna be a little shit. I just know you are." But everyone's like, "But he's so good." I'm like, "Yeah, but there's something about him. He's gonna be a little shit."
When they get to about 5 or 6 and they just scream your name over and over and over again, you turn around, what do you want? And they just spin around and go, "There you go." And you're like, seriously.
That's what I said.
That scene from Family Guy when Stewie's like, Lewis.
And they'll just spin around, fall on their knees, and you're like, thanks for that.
Have you like chocolate? And then you're like, "Have you been eating chocolate?" And they're like, "No." And they've got like a face covered in chocolate. Like they will look you dead ass in the face and be like, "No."
My partner has a son, so we've got, between us we have 3, 2 and 1 because his son's 2, but he is really, really advanced. He non-stop talks, and he's daddy's boy. He is daddy's boy. He's not mummy's boy. He's daddy's boy. And he wanders around, falling, daddy, 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 and he'll go, what? And he goes, don't worry. And you do not expect it from this 2-year-old, but he's so clever. And obviously it's nice because obviously I don't always get that from Arlo. To get it from him, I read him a book, and we were, I think it was like Zog or something, and he told me I looked like one of the dragons, and I thought, oh, that's really nice, thank you.
I think
I'll tell you what,
go on, Jess.
with Emerson now though, they get their favourite books. I can be one of those days where I'm like, oh no, I don't really fancy reading a book, so I'll like trying to skip a few pages and make it up as you go along. But he knows every single word. You cannot get past that without going word by word.
Oh, I think if our boy Leo, if he grows up to be a daddy's boy, that'll be deliberate. That would have been because I've been forcing that to be the case since he was born.
No.
When he starts to grow up, I'll be like, your mother won't give you the good biscuits, but I'll give you the good biscuits, and I'll just make sure I sow those seeds. I'll be
When it comes to you two sharing food, it's more me sharing food. You will never share your food.
We would never eat Leo's food.
I made it for me. Stevie doesn't share food. I made it for me.
I said when I was
that's going to go straight out the window in about a year's time, pal.
You have to hide to eat. You do.
Yeah.
You have to hide to eat. That I have to say is my biggest parenting advice. Hide yourself when you eat.
We'll tell them it's spicy.
Yeah, we can't go to the park today. It's closed.
Yeah.
The ice cream's really spicy. So it's closed, not open today.
Oh no, sorry, you can't have mummy's chocolate. It's too spicy.
They sit there watching you eat it, and they go, "I like that. Good for you. Go away. You're not having it."
I must admit, earlier I was feeding Harley, and I gave him my extra dumpling, and I love dumplings. He literally just put it in his hand, looked at me, and just dropped it over his high chair and didn't break his back.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't go there. Yeah, that's a terrible waste.
Just you wait. Just you wait.
I've got one of them.
I tell you what, Amazon the other day, on Amazon Prime, you have to pay for some of your episodes or movies. And I was like, oh no, we can't watch those. We have to pay for them. The other day, he was sat with the remote control and he learned how to buy them. And he came running into the room and he went, Mummy, I've done it. I bought Paw Patrol. And I was like, what? I looked on my account. £50 he spent on about 4 episodes of Paw Patrol.
No.
But he was so happy.
Well,
I was like, okay, you watch them.
Oh.
Do you know, I know this is a bit random, but I have to say, when we're thinking about our best parenting moments, do you know what my worst parenting moment was? Is Arlo has a stair gate on his door because in the mornings he's at the end of the bed. It's like you're not alive and he's in your face. So I thought stair gate's the way forwards, and my partner ordered it and it came and it was actually a pet gate. So it's about it's actually about 6 foot tall, and you put it on his door and it's like a jail, and it's
He
so
did not
high.
do that by accident. That was not
He
an
did,
accident.
he did not do that by accident.
In case he can't get out.
I realised I did that, and I'm like,
Must have
yeah.
That's
But,
my worst
he's got-
is waking up and seeing Harley end my bed, just staring at me. That's my
Yeah.
worst
Is it-
nightmare.
It's quite a recent thing, and I was not mentally prepared for it. I really was.
I'm
They
not
literally
mentally
they
prepared.
just down there just looking at you like The Exorcist, though, don't they? Like you wake up.
No, and they actually don't say anything. They actually don't say anything. This is the worst thing. They'll just stand there in silence, staring at you. It's like, get up now.
That's a good way to get elbowed in the morning. That's a good way to go.
Yeah.
And by 6 foot stair gates.
Yeah,
The
that's a
best
good
thing
idea.
is, when you're up all night and then I turn around to Sam wakes up in the morning, he's like, oh, I'm so tired. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
throw the
he
kids
didn't wake
all
up
night.
once. Lovely great bread.
Yeah, we have that. It happened a few weeks ago. It happened sort of 2 or 3 mornings in a row where I go, oh gosh, babe, what a great sleep.
He slept through. I'm like,
He
are
slept,
you joking?
He slept right through, can you believe it? And she's there next to me all frazzled going, no.
Yeah,
No, he
more like
didn't.
how goes now. What?
No, there's nothing like an argument at 3 a.m. and you forget it in the morning. That's the thing. You will literally be telling each other how much you want to kill each other at 3 a.m. But you wake up at 7, you're like, cool, that was a rough night.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's what happens. Sometimes I'm too. So it's because I remember the arguments we had.
So
we were
funny.
fine. It's the first few weeks where we struggled because it took me a few weeks to bond with him because I hated the screaming, the cluster feeding, keeping me awake and keeping us all awake. I had to go back to work, and it was just
not knowing exactly what like it was, which is obviously like you never will like straight away. But it was just because it goes on for a long time, sort of thing. We're like, oh my god!
And there was times where I was like, man, this kid's sleeping in the garden in a minute.
It's sensory overload. I cannot deal with it.
Yeah,
Screaming, everything going on.
When they're babies and they wake up, although you're annoyed at yourself for being annoyed about it because you think, well, they're babies, they can't help it. And to be honest, what I found is like when they wake at night when they're babies, you have this subconscious thing of, oh, but they're babies, it's fine. And now my daughter is obviously 16 months and she's kind of coming out of that baby thing. And now it's getting to the point where I'm like, you're a little shit. Why are you not sleeping? You're not a baby anymore. Like, I'm not having this now.
Mila sleeps through. Emerson, he keeps us up every night screaming. I think he has night terrors or something. We don't know, but he just screams every night.
That's what you tell yourself. That is what you tell yourself. They've got night terrors. Yeah, that's why they're waking up.
They've got something.
It must be a mum thing, though, the sympathy, because I do the same. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why are you making this? Is just ridiculous. And she's like, she is a baby. Stop it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't know how long we've been recording for. This has been a uncharacteristically long episode. But I'd like to thank you all for taking part in this. It's been really, really great, and hopefully there'll be aspects of this that people who are parents or about to be parents for the first time, they can maybe feel like, they're experiencing it too. Actually, it is fucking annoying sometimes having a baby crying. Sometimes it is difficult going through this, and because sometimes those thoughts, when Leo was first born, I remember feeling guilty because we hadn't bonded, we were exhausted, and there was a point where I had him in my arms, and we were so tired, weren't we? Because he just wasn't. And I remember thinking, God, I think I regret having you, like whilst my son was in my hand, and it was the worst moment of my entire life. But there was sometimes you have to go, John, you're exhausted, and it's all right to be exhausted. It's okay. You're going to get that. That's not the real you. You just knackered. So.
Yeah. I think postnatal depression and anxiety is it's so common for mums and dads. That I suffered so badly after Emerson, like so badly. I didn't realise though, so it was gradual. And even Sam, he said he didn't realise because he just thought it was my hormones. It was just me gradually changing. And then it's only when like my mum realised, and I couldn't be left alone at home. And they were like, no, this is wrong. Something's not right. But I thought that wasn't normal. Like it is though. So, and then when you start speaking to other people who don't have positive feelings after having a child, it's so normal. Like so normal.
Yeah, you can't feel guilty about it. I mean, sleep deprivation, unless you've experienced it, you don't understand, and it really does affect your mental health. I mean, my dad growing up was a night shift worker, and I know it sounds bizarre, but actually when I became a parent and the tiredness was really getting to me and affecting other aspects of my life, he related because he spent 20 years of his life being nocturnal basically. It takes a toll on your body, and it's like people say, make sure you're eating well, if the baby's not sleeping. But if you don't have the energy, because you're not sleeping well, it's this vicious cycle of, well, I'm not eating well because the baby, I'm so tired and I can't motivate myself. And then it leads to things like postnatal depression, and it sneaks up on you because what you think you're experiencing is the baby blues and the sleep deprivation, but very easily just you fall into it.
Escalate.
I think we should do like an episode 2 of postnatal depression and actually just solely focus on that.
Yeah, and talk
Yeah.
about the sort of
Maybe.
funny thoughts and, I don't know, just how you felt in the middle of the night and stuff. I'd also think that they should, say they, I don't know who exactly, but like talk about it more in men. Not saying Steve had it or anything, because I don't think he did, like, completely, but...
Because we slept for it, buddy,
little
that's
things-
why.
I was snoozing.
It's more like, yeah, just thinking like, I don't know, it is just, you think postnatal depression mums, you don't ever think of dads. I don't anyway, like you just wouldn't really have a
It
clue,
would
but I
be
think
it would be really
good.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
it
to
would
get
be really
people's
interesting.
opinions.
Well, then we could do like a gradual, recurring sort of parenting series where we cover specific themes, because it's difficult because we're doing a sort of broad thing right now, and so just maybe use this as
Do
an
like subjects sort of thing,
introduction to who we all are, and then maybe the next one, if you're all free in a few weeks or something, maybe then we could focus on specific topics, and then but with a purpose to helping people with it. Describing your personal experiences, but framing it in a way that people can go, do you know what? These people have survived this. And
if we're doing like mental health, then if I had Sam got involved, because he had no help at all. He did go to when I went to like a mum's group for like a mental health group, he went for the dads, like postnatal depression, like for months, but the dads all went together to meet up and they all spoke, and that he found that so helpful. So I think it would be good for dads to get involved, to speak about how they deal with.
It'd be good to see the reaction to this, and
honestly,
see what.
Sam had no idea like it was happening, because he was obviously seeing me every day, so it's gradual for him as well. And then all of a sudden, it just, I don't know, it just spiraled, and he didn't know how to deal with it. He really didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that for next time, then, and then we can see where that goes. We can maybe branch into a different topic. But for now, we can sort of bring this to, we can put a nice little bow on it. So I really appreciate it. Hazel, it was lovely to meet you, and thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Hopefully people will watch and listen to this. This will be on YouTube. It will be on all good podcast apps and stuff, so people can pick it up anyway. In a couple of weeks, I think I'll release it. Jez, Kaylee, Kevin, thank you for joining me on the Steve Kaylee Show.
I loved it.
See you later. Bye, guys.
Brilliant.
Bye.